He's Tony. I'm Mike. This is week 12 of the Action Bowl.
So week 12 of the Action Bowl has Jean Reno, who crushed it with Crimson Rivers in the first round, going up against Errol Flynn, who crushed it in the Seahawk. Jean Reno drew Leon, the professional, and Errol Flynn drew Dark Avenger or the Warriors or the Black Prince, depending on where you are or where you got this. What do you want to talk about first?
I'm going to let you pick.
Let's talk about the Dark Avenger.
Okay. So we got Errol Flynn, and this was like 1950 something or another.
1955.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And so this takes place in 13 something or another, where the French and the English are fighting over the Aquitaine.
Yes.
Which I immediately had to take a look and see if this took in the same place as the time period as the Line in Winter, which it does not.
It does not. Yeah, the same province.
Yes.
Eleanor of Aquitaine is Aquitaine, and it is historically a province in France that various British royals have laid claim to over and over again, which is actually the reason why Henry married Eleanor of Aquitaine to gain rights and privileges to that particular piece of land. This is actually at the tail end of the 100 Years' War, and they've had this big battle, and the English have won, and the King of England has decided, I'm going back to England, I'm going to leave my son here to basically guard over this, enforce English law, and try to keep the peace.
I must return to England with the army.
Return?
There are difficulties at home. You will remain in France, with such men as I can safely spare. I look to you to keep the peace in Aquitaine.
And bring the French nobles who he decides he doesn't want to, basically take their land. He doesn't want to take their titles. He just wants to, get everybody to calm down and just deal with the fact that he's now their king and English law rules here.
My lords, this is a truce between England and France, to which we have already put our hand. In exchange for your word as men of honor that you will lay down your arms and make no further attempt to seize from us what is our just heritage.
Which the French take exception to.
Yeah.
And so Errol Flynn as the prince.
Ruler of Aquitaine.
Duke of Aquitaine.
Basically, he's trying to do right by the peasants and the people, and the nobles just ain't gonna have it.
Since when do I, the Count of Aquitaine, have to woo woodcutters?
Since the Duke of Aquitaine began receiving them in audience.
Disto, you say Edward denies no one his presence, eh?
He admits the lowliest, the very scum of Aquitaine.
And medieval warfare ensues.
Yeah.
We have grievances. Death to the English!
Yeah, so I forgot the French lord that is up in arms about this shit, but he everybody else is actually cool with it, except for this one guy. There's the one asshole that's got to ruin it for fucking everybody.
Yeah.
We continue the war in our own way.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, so you got this one asshole, and so he gets the lords that were there at the time of the surrender. It's like, hey, if I can convince some of the other lords that weren't here present at the time of surrender to join us, do you want to keep the rebellion going, or we'll pretend like everything's cool, but really it's not. And they're like, okay, yeah, we're in.
Yeah. Our army's been routed. We haven't the strength to break the truce. Very well. Let us appear to keep it until we are strong enough to break it.
And I was going to say,
long and short of the half.
Yeah, I was going to say, it wasn't until like the peasants show up and they're like, hey, our lords are demanding taxes, and they're demanding that we take 2 hours a day and practice with arms and all this because they're trying to foment an insurrection. And he's all like, no, I got this. I'll take care of this. I'll go talk to everybody.
Have no more fear of these injustices. There will be no more enforced practice at arms.
nor any illegal taxes.
So it kicks off and we have a big battle between the French and the English. And the English get their butts kicked and the prince and his one of his knights escape. And they find out that this English lady who is a friend of his...
Tell me, what are you doing here in France?
I'm taking my brothers to their new home.
You home?
Yes.
But she has been abducted by the French nobles and they decide that they're going to mount a rescue mission, which is it's convoluted, and I mean, if you look at it for what happens within the course of the film, in movie magic land, it's perfectly entertaining. In reality, it's the dumbest plan ever.
Yes, it's really dumb. He dresses up as a Black Knight, and I'm not going to reveal my identity till the French are triumphant, and the French people are apparently stupid enough to buy this.
Yes.
I've made a vow, my lord, never to reveal my name until the enemies of France have been defeated. A noble vow, if true.
Well, he shaved his mustache off, so I mean, it's all good.
Oh, shaving.
Your moustache.
Yes.
And not only are the French people stupid enough to buy it, but then he goes to the tavern where there is the hot songstress brunette.
For everybody knows I am the girl for quelque chose.
And he's, cavorting with a bunch of French knights and squires and all this, and apparently, overpaying for a meal.
Thank you, sir.
That's enough to make a French citizen just be all like, oh, I'm eternally yours. I will help you rip everything off in this place. By the way, what the fuck was a black suit of armor doing in the middle of a tavern?
Up there, over the fireplace. The black armor? Well, what about it?
Decoration. Dude, I've seen suits of armor in people's homes, okay? So a suit of armor in a tavern in a time where that's appropriate is not a far stretch for me.
I get it. I mean, it'd be one thing. I just would have liked some sort of an explanation. Because if it was a family heirloom or his father was a lord or something like that, or if he killed the knight that wore it and they've proudly kept it in the family ever since as a reminder to just something, anything. But just to have it like sitting there out in the open, you're just asking for it to get stolen.
But anyways, long and short of it, they rescue the princess or the lady, whatever.
Yeah.
They take her back to the castle. The French siege the castle, but the English are triumphant. Hooray! and the story.
And Errol Flynn kisses her,
Yeah.
and it's naughty.
Yeah. So. This is not on the same level as the Seahawk. Not even close.
No, it is not.
The story is fine enough. It gets you through. It's shot well enough. You can tell there's not much of a budget in this movie because all...
Oh, no, that's where you're wrong. This movie was incredibly expensive.
Well, it should not have been because the battles are very scaled down. There's not a whole lot going on in these battles. It's very confined to, 20, 30 men per side, even the biggest battle. It's not that
big. A bit
big.
more than that, but not much more.
And while the sets are very small as well. So if you're saying it's a big money thing, production, where did that money go? Because I don't see it on screen.
Actually, those are real castles. They rented the space for that. It was a United Artists, and I think Fox Studios. There was 3 studios involved with the financing of this. And where the money went on screen is that this is a Technicolor film.
Okay.
This is also a CinemaScope film.
Okay.
So it's super widescreen, and then it's 3-color film process.
Okay.
So that is hugely expensive. And Errol Flynn is the other big chunk of change in this film.
Well, what was the budget?
I am production assistant. We got numbers on this.
Yeah, you can't say it's a big project and they spent money for it.
I read a bunch of stuff about this, but they didn't go into the numbers on this. But I will also say that apparently when this film came out, it was not terribly well received. because Errol Flynn was A, too old to play the character, B, was basically a pain in the ass during the production of this film. Apparently his alcoholism was full-blown at this point, and there's literally stories of him forgetting lines of dialogue or getting angry or not coming to the set. So production overruns probably had a lot to do with the budget on this film as well. It was a big gamble. It was fine, and this is not a bad film. Let's just put that out there now.
Okay, so I can't find anything for the budget, but it has a very weird thing for the box office.
Yeah.
It doesn't say how much money it made. It says how many people saw it.
Okay.
And in France, 890,000 people saw the film.
Okay.
I'm sure it's probably a good number for France.
It's possibly, but I've never seen a box office say how many admissions there were to the film, not how much money was made, and it only lists France.
No,
That's
Not
weird.
no
US,
England, no
not
U.S.
Britain,
Okay, that is
just
weird.
France, and it doesn't even talk about how much it cost, and yeah.
Yeah.
So here's the other sin of this movie. Is that for some reason this film was only ever put out on DVD. There's been no Blu-ray version of it, and the version that they put out on DVD was not a restored version. It was this is the best print that we have of this film. So we are seeing a seriously flawed product at the end of the day on this one.
Well, here's the thing. With a movie like this, is it worth the restoration?
Part of me wants to say yes because it's Errol Flynn. It's very late in his career. It's kind of like one of the last swashbucklers that he did. The other thing is that cinematography-wise, it's not a problem with the cinematography. The cinematography is gorgeous in this film. It's that a lot of the shots are very static.
Yes.
And that kind of really takes the wind out of a lot of the bigger action sequences. You are right about the scale of the battle scenes, but I mean, those were real suits of armor. So that is expensive.
I understand all that, but still, we've seen bigger battles in movies in this time period.
Oh, sure, absolutely, absolutely. You're not wrong.
And for Errol Flynn project, we should have got more. I mean, in the Seahawk, there's hundreds of people on two boats going at it.
Yeah,
Are you telling me you couldn't spend fucking money to put some motherfuckers, some suits of armor out there and go at it?
Like I said, this was an expensive film for them to make. It was not a usually well-received film.
We assume it's an expensive film.
Well, I know that when you have 3 studios involved in the finances of a film, it's definitely not going to make it cheaper. So, but I just think that it did not perform as well as they had hoped. And like I said, Errol Flynn was getting too old to do this kind of stuff. And that really shows. There's a sword fight that he has with the captain, the French captain. And
in the tavern.
And it's very slow. It's very clunky. Errol Flynn's age really shows.
When I was
during
watching
that
this
sequence.
thing, I had flashes of the first lightsaber scene in
Star
in this
Wars?
first
Yeah,
Star Wars
yeah.
with Darth Vader and Obi-Wan. Very very choreographed, very deliberate.
Very old man, too. Yeah, yeah. Because, Alec Guinness was not a young puppy in that one. But I got to be honest, though. I for all the fluff that this is, and it really is, it's a fluff movie, I enjoyed it. I was entertained by it. And a lot of that has to do...
it, too.
Yeah, a lot of this has to do with the fact that it is Errol Flynn, and he's a charismatic man, and he carries this, and he can spit out that dialogue and make you go, I'll follow you.
I call for your surrender.
Our surrender? Ha ha ha! I thought you'd come here to offer us yours.
And that's really where Errol Flynn, that's his stock and trade on that one.
Yeah, he's great in it, and then his sidekick, Sir John, is really good in this movie.
Yes. Yeah.
Get rid of your armor.
Gladly. I suppose you have a reason.
I suppose I have.
The two together as a pair carry this movie. Errol Flynn by himself is good, but the two of them together is what is the magic.
Absolutely. I was going to say, the premise of this film, it's completely flimsy. I'm sure that the French that saw it were kind of like, what is this shit? So that's not at all how this happened. That's not how it happened at all.
I'm surprised I watched it all because it makes them like fucking idiots for the whole movie.
You know, and the other thing, too, is like, this is supposed to be at the tail end of the 100 Years' War, which they preface it at the beginning of the film. If you have people that have been fighting a war against each other for the entirety of their lives, because people didn't live to see 80 back then, but if you're fighting a war for the entirety of your lives, it's not like you're going to be all like, oh, okay, I guess we lost. You can just have all this land now. That's not how this works at all. But the other thing is that there was so much, you know, across the channel inter-family relationships. It's not as cut and dried as this film would like to cut it out to be. And The Lion in Winter remembered that. Much to its credit, this movie kind of wanted to gloss over all that one. So,
well, I mean, again, it's a popcorn flick for the time.
It is, absolutely. And I enjoyed this for exactly what it was, in spite of all of its flaws. I would love to see a restoration of this. I'd love to see a good print of this, because I'm sure that if we could see it with all of its grain and color and everything restored, and it'd probably be a much more striking film because it would show off the cinematography of it.
I don't know.
Let's talk numbers. Yeah, let's get down to it.
So, this is a very average film. Plot is a 5. There's nothing great. There's nothing awful. It's right down the middle. Style is a 5 also. There's nothing great. There's nothing awful. Entertainment, I was entertained, but wasn't like super stoked about it. It's a 5. It's a 15.
15?
Yeah. So I mean, it's a solid film, but it's not the fucking Seahawk.
No,
and it's not the Lion in Winter.
So,
it's not some of these other classics that we have seen.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
It was slightly disappointing.
I enjoyed it more than you because I'm a sucker for knights and swords and all that kind of thing. So my score is going to reflect that, but I'm sure you're going to be mad at me anyway. But so for the plot, I gave it a 7. It's not historically accurate, but it is entertaining enough. It's a solidly written film. So I'm just gonna say it's not great, it's not terrible, but it's better than average. For the style, I gave it a 7 because I thought it was a good-looking film, and again, some of the fights are better than others, some of them not so much. I enjoyed it for what it was. For the entertainment, I gave it a 6. It was just mildly above. For all the effort put into this film, it does not show up on screen as well as it should be presented. So for me, I gave this a 20, which I know you're going to say is a little bit high, but it's okay. I'll deal with that. I can admit I'm fanboying on this one just a little bit. So
fair enough.
So that is it for Errol Flynn in the Dark Avenger / The Warriors. Coming up next, Jean Reno in Leon, the Professional. Stay tuned.
Marie, perhaps I can be more charming. If you do me a small favor.
Anything, Edouard.
And then Jean Reno showed up. And then the next thing you knew, you get to see the difference between an amateur and the professional.
He wants to talk to you.
Yes.
Dude. It's been a while since I've seen this movie, and I remember it being good, and I watched it again, and was reminded of how great this movie is. This thing is damn near fucking flawless.
I remember seeing it not too long after it had come out, probably like when it first dropped on VHS. Yeah, it's that old. But that being said, as someone who's a bit older now, I appreciated it more now than I did when I originally saw it. Luc Besson films age like wine, because we watched The Messenger and I had seen that when it came out, and watching it through adult eyes, it was like, wow, okay, that was infinitely better than I remember it being, and this was the exact same thing. And I'm also going to say this is perfectly cast.
Yes.
It is perfectly acted.
Yes.
I loved watching everything. I was glued to this movie, and I'd seen it before, but you don't really appreciate how great an actor Jean Reno is until you see him in this. And then you also don't appreciate how great Natalie Portman was at the ripe old age of, like, 12, 13?
I don't know. If she didn't win or get nominated for some type of award for this movie, is a fucking crime.
Yeah. Yeah. And then Gary Oldman, Danny Aiello. I mean, this movie's a... Walk us through the plot in 3 sentences or less. Just...
Oh, Jesus Christ. Gary Oldman is shaking down this guy. Well, not shaking down, but was wondering, hey, I gave you pure, clean Coke. I come back. This shit's fucking cut. What happened to the 10% of this shit? And
try and follow me, all right? In June, we gave you the dope. It tests 100% pure. Now it's July. We pick up the dope, and it tests 90% pure. Now, somewhere between June and July, 10% turn to cut.
And so he's like, I'm giving you till noon tomorrow to come up with, that 10% that's missing.
Yeah.
Noon comes around, no Coke. Everybody gets shot up. Well, the people get shot up is Natalie Portman's family.
Yes.
She knocks on Jean Reno's door. Hey, let me in.
Please open the door.
Come on, let me in. Gets let in, and then convinces Jean Reno to teach her how to become a professional hitman.
The rifle is the first weapon you learn how to use because it lets you keep your distance from the client.
To get revenge for her family. Actually, specifically her little brother.
Yeah, because she really gives two shits about her parents and her sister.
Well, her father, her stepmother,
yeah,
and then her older stepsister, or half-sister, and then the little brother was apparently actually her real brother.
If you couldn't stand them, why are you crying?
Because they killed my brother. What the hell did he do? He's 4 years old.
But it's so well handled, especially what could potentially be very creepy, pervy fucking scenes. Because you have Natalie Portman, who's fallen in love with Leon. And she does everything she can to throw herself at Leon. Leon's like, yeah, no, little girl, just...
Stay away from him, looks like a weirdo.
Okay.
Yeah, just... Come on.
yeah.
Let's be real here. This isn't happening.
So no, it's you're absolutely right. And in the hands of a less capable director, this could have come off real bad. But it's handled so delicately. It's so well written. Natalie Portman's performance and her realization of heartbreak at that age is gut-wrenching.
Oh, it is.
And then watching Jean Reno, his character trying to deal with all this, and he cares for Matilda, but that's never going to happen, and he's trying to spell that out for her without A, being creepy sounding, and B,
without being a dick about it.
Yeah.
And
it's spectacularly well handled.
Matilda, no.
Why not?
I just can't.
I think my favorite scene in the film, you talked about this, where Natalie Portman goes to the store and her whole family gets shot up. And then she comes back and she has to walk past her own door, past her shot up family, and act like she does not live there. And that shot of her face while she's knocking on the door or ringing the bell, trying to get Leon to let her in. It's just so beautifully executed. And again, she's Tatum O'Neal in The Bad News Bears good in this film. She's got that level of depth with that character.
Yes. It's incredibly well done, well acted by everybody. And Jean Reno's reactions to everything that Natalie Portman does. It's just perfect and spot on, and it just so fits the character.
Yes.
Because he's a socially awkward guy, and he had a tragedy himself with his love interest. I can't remember exactly what happened to her.
She was a member of a respected family. He wasn't. When they found out that she had been sneaking out to see him, they killed her.
They kept him in jail for 2 days, and they let him go free. They said it was an accident.
That was it. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. I couldn't remember if they killed her or if she died by like an accident.
Yeah, he actually said that they shot her in the head.
Yeah.
So, but...
So, God,
it's a heavy movie.
Yeah.
Danny Aiello, okay, so he's this mobster, and he brings Leon all of his contracts, and he's hanging on to Leon's money. And if this was played by a lesser actor, you would think you're scamming this poor guy. You're sending him out to shit.
Check it. Make sure it's the right thing.
I trust you.
One thing's got nothing to do with the other.
Strangely, because it's Danny Aiello, you completely believe that he's got all of Leon's money stashed somewhere.
You believe that? I don't believe that for a fucking second. Not for a fucking second do I believe that fucking shit.
Yeah.
Because the reason why I can say this with some pretty good confidence is the fact that Leon can't fucking read.
Yeah.
At all.
Yeah.
So he has no concept of like what he's got, what he has, or any of that type of shit. Lucky for him, Matilda teaches him how to read. And he tells Danny Aiello as such, I know how to read now. Oh.
I know how to read now.
That's good, Leon. Good.
Okay, well, here's some money and stuff like that. Now, he still doesn't give Leon his money.
Yeah. It's
right
I
away.
was going to say, I don't know what the math is, but I know it's $5,000 a hit, and I know that at the beginning of the film, just in the hotel room sequence, that's 5 right there. That's 25 G's.
Yeah. Well, shit, when he's training Matilda, and they get that montage where she's knocking on the door and he cuts the lock.
Yeah.
That's a good 5 or 6 in that montage alone.
So,
I mean, that's a lot of money.
It's 100 G's right there.
Yeah, it's a good chunk of change. Danny Oldman.
Gary Oldman.
Gary Oldman fucking kills it in this fucking movie.
Yes.
He plays that unhinged character so well.
How come?
Why don't you leave him alone?
He said, go back inside.
So well. And I love it when he takes he puts those pills in his mouth and he bites it. He's got that. He's like.
I would love to know exactly what's supposed to be in those pills, but at the same time, I don't care because the only thing I need to know is the effect it has on him. And apparently he needs one whenever he's about ready to gun somebody down in cold blood because that's the tell that, oh, someone's about to die.
Well, I think what it does, because he's normally like a very on-edge guy, but when he pops the pill, he comes down quite a bit. And he starts listening to and talks about Beethoven and Bach and all this shit.
Yeah. You don't like Beethoven. You don't know what you're missing.
He's very much into his music. And it's stated as such at the beginning. His sidekick buddy is like, hey, you don't want me fucking disturbing him while I listen to his music. Because if I got to do that, that usually means you're fucking acting.
Now, let me tell you, when he's into his music, he hates being disturbed. I'm telling you the truth. I'm sorry. He said he didn't cut the dope.
And here's the other thing about this. I think what it really boils down to is that at the time that this film came out, the characterizations were so foreign. Like I'd never quite seen anything like this in a film before, and so it didn't quite gel with me. But here we are, and it's 20 years later, and I've seen like so much more outrageous characters than this that I come back to this and I look at Leon and I think Leon's on the spectrum. Liam is most definitely he's got this like thing where He's obsessed with his plant. He is obsessed with keeping things clean. He dresses in a very peculiar manner. He wears a hat to keep himself from getting a cold. And like all these little quirks about him. And it's all kind of very OCD.
Yeah.
And Matilda comes in, and Matilda kind of unwires him, so to speak.
Yeah.
He gets him used to having to talk to people, having to be around people. And Leon's obviously a foreigner. And I'm not just saying that because Jean Reno has an accent. I'm saying it because they literally say when he came over here.
In the movie, they say he's Italian.
Yeah. I'm okay with that.
I'm fine with that too.
I claim
it's
him.
perfectly fine. Yeah, no, absolutely. No, they save each other, you know, in a sense, you know, because Jean Reno finally starts to come out of his shell and becomes more of a human and not just a killing machine.
Yes.
Which is really all he is at the beginning of the fucking movie. And I totally forgot that night when he takes her in, he comes into her room and puts a gun to her head and was this close to fucking killing her.
Yes. I was going to say, that's one of those moments in the film that I love it thematically, but because that's the only way he knows how to deal with problems is with a gun.
Yeah.
But the other thing that I enjoyed about this is that in every other scene in this film, he is wearing a white t-shirt. In that scene, smart choice by Luc Besson, he is wearing a dark t-shirt when he comes into the room and points the gun to her head. He has that flirtation with darkness. I don't know if you ever caught it before, kind of like, oh.
Yeah,
and
you're
then,
right. And most scenes that I remember, I don't know if it's every scene, but most scenes when he's gone doing some killing, he does dress in black.
He made the glasses a signature thing. He made the hat a signature thing. He made the pea coat a signature thing. Floods ain't ever catching on unless you're Michael Jackson, but valiant effort, sir. The ending of this film is spectacularly good. When they have the whole shootout in the hallway, and then they are coming into the room, and he takes the axe and he hacks the wall down and he drops Matilda down there so that she can escape, and then he gets a hold of one of the SWAT guys and is trying to sneak out in uniform. And I love that whole reveal, but what I love even more than that is here he is, he's walking out into the sunlight. It's very visual, but it's also very metaphoric. He's in the darkness, he's coming out into the light, the water, all the storm is behind him, because there was the entire thing with the sprinkler system. They shut the water off finally as he's walking out, and then you see that flash of light. And it's beautifully rendered. You know exactly what happened, and it's exactly the way that Leon needed to go, because I didn't want to see him get shot. But I did want to see him blow Gary Oldman the fuck up.
That was great.
This is from Matilda. Shit.
This movie is a cut above for many reasons. One, because the action here is masterfully done.
Yes.
Leon is one of the most skilled, like beyond belief, but not superhuman.
No.
But right on that edge of being superhuman. But everything that's in here is believable.
I was going to say, I wouldn't even go that far. I would actually say training, because you see him doing sit-ups like several times, and then later on you figure out why he's doing sit-ups. It's so that when he's got to prop himself above the door and then lower himself down to shoot people upside down, it's so that he's got the core strength to actually take care of business and get the hell out of the way.
It's believable.
Yes.
It's like I said, rise that ragged edge. So not only do you have that, but you have this heart-wrenching story between him and Matilda. And then on top of that, you have the goings-on, the shenanigans with Gary Oldman's character and all that shit.
And you find out DEA, he's a DEA agent that's just dirty as hell.
Yeah.
So,
and then it all works. It's all seamlessly put together. The cinematography is great. The score in this is great. The score is magnificent.
Yes.
It's subtle, it needs to be subtle, and it's fucking bombastic, it needs to be bombastic. It's just everything in this thing hits. There is not a flaw in this movie that I can think of.
There's not a misstep anywhere on it. I was going to say, it's 2 hours. This movie floats by so fast, and it's so hypnotic.
Yeah.
This is like one of those movies that you will be sitting and you will be watching, and you'll look up and go, oh, shit, I'm late for whatever I was going to go do before I turned on The Professional. This is a highlight of this season of the Action Bowl. I am so thrilled that this got drawn. But we've gushed. Now let's score.
Okay. Plot's a fucking 8. I mean, seriously, it's an 8. There's so many things that this thing does. It does the action, everything that, all the plots that tie into the action is well done. All the plots that tie into the drama is well done, and it all comes full circle. It's just masterful. Style is an 8. This thing is so well shot, so well put together, so well edited.
Yes.
The sets are great. When it's scummy and skeevy, it's scummy and skeevy. And when it's action, it's action. When there needs to be like drama, there's drama. I mean, it's great. 8. Entertainment, fucking 9. And I should change this to a fucking 10. 25. It's a fucking 25.
Plot is a 9.
Fucking A right.
The plot is a 9 because I have seen this film ripped off ad nauseum in the last 20 some odd years, but I have never seen anybody that popped up with an idea this original, this good, this character driven, and yet all of that character driving stuff informs all the action. Now, you like to remind me that this is the Action Bowl, not the Drama Bowl. This movie says, bullshit! We can do both, and we can excel at both.
You can do both. Yes, I agree with you there 100%, but this is an outlier.
Oh, yes.
I mean, this is an absolute outlier. I mean, this is,
Absolutely,
go on.
absolutely. So for the style, it's an 8.
Yes.
Beautifully constructed, beautifully shot, beautifully rendered. The wardrobe informs the characters.
Yes.
I mean, that the details in this film are spectacular. When Gary Oldman loses his shit because his suit got ruined, I love that bit. So, and then the entertainment, it is an 8 all day long. I kind of fell in love with this film on review, and it's been a long time since I've seen it. So my score is a 25. So that is it for Leon the Professional, whatever you choose to title it, the masterpiece that we watched.
Yes.
Coming up next, our results. Stay tuned.
What are you doing? He's dead!
But he ruined my suit.
So week 12 of the Action Bowl, Jean Reno against Errol Flynn. For Errol Flynn, the Warriors / Dark Avenger, I scored it a 20. You scored it a 15. That gives us an average score of 17.5. And then Jean Reno showed up and was all like, you're done, Errol. You scored it a 25. I scored it a 25. So
the French win.
Coming up next, our drawing for next week. Stay tuned. Week 13 of the Action Bowl, the first round of the semifinals. We have Vin Diesel going up against Pam Grier. I will be drawing for Pam Grier. You'll be drawing for Vin Diesel.
All right. I'll just throw
this right here is going to determine who goes to the final. I want, you know, I'm going for number 2. All right, so Pam Grier will be represented by Foxy Brown. This is the perfect time for Pam Grier to draw Foxy Brown out because this is the important match. This is really going to determine who is in the final, and this is a strong pull for her because this is blaxploitation from the 70s at its absolute peak.
So I've heard this movie for a long time. I have never seen it. I have high hopes for this movie. Well, I hope it is entertaining.
Well, let's find out what Vin is going to be. Vin has been kind of killing it unexpectedly. He even turned you into a bit of a fan.
A bit. And we even drew Triple X in this fucking movie. so there you are. What did we get? Vin Diesel. Would be represented by, oh fuck.
What?
Pitch Black.
Oh.
Motherfucking sci-fi cult classic.
Yes.
Man.
The first movie I ever bought on Blu-ray.
Is it really?
It really is. It really is.
This is the first movie I've seen Vin Diesel in that I remember, and I fell in love with it back then. So this is
going to be one hell of a week. I was going to say, if this is going to be how it is for the finals, fuck yeah.
Absolutely. Right. I'm super excited for this.
So that is coming up for week 13. Pam Grier, Foxy Brown going up against Vin Diesel in Pitch Black. Stay tuned for that.
So that's it for week 12. Join us for week 13. We have an epic battle. Vin Diesel, Pitch Black versus Pam Grier and Foxy Brown.
We will see you next week.